Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dream Team Tonic podcast, episode 26. I'm Tony. With me this week is Ben. You there, Ben?
Hey, mate, you right?
All right, pal. James, are you there?
Hi Tony, I'm here.
Good stuff. And with us, usual for the transfer special, Fergie. Great to have you here. You there, mate?
I am, buddy. Great to be on again. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, our pleasure, mate. Our pleasure. Just a quick shout out to our Patreons. Much appreciated. It is coming up to the 1st of February, which obviously, if you do sign up to our Patreon, it would maximise your value for money. Basically, the cost of a coffee. If you sign up, get in there for this month. Obviously, we're getting into the business end now, a Dream Team, and we reckon joining up and listening to our stuff and getting involved in the Discord will probably give you that final push you need to win your mini leagues or boost your final standings. So if you want to support the lads or get involved, it's patreon.com/Dream Team Tonic. Get yourselves across there on Tuesday the 1st of Feb. Get signed up. All the info's on there. Any questions, drop us a message at Dream Team Tonic on Twitter. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Right, Fergie, we've obviously not seen your team over the last few weeks, so we'll listen to mine, James and Ben's last week. We just want a quick update on where you're at, how you're doing. Obviously, you could touch on your pod team, and then if you want to have a quick touch on how you're doing in the main game as well, with your best side as well. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, okay. It was. I started off the month of January really, really well. I think James noted it a couple of weeks ago. I had one spanking week where I had over 100 points, and I flew up from was I about 500 or 400 the last time I came on? And I actually got up to 92nd because I made a few transfers. I brought in Antonio, Madison, and I'm trying to think who the other one was, but all three of them basically banged in that week and kind of really helped me up, which is really good. That team now has slipped back down to 359th, which is still it's really good. But I think any designs I had of maybe trying to do a defend a back-to-back win after that little run is probably diminished. But my team for this, I've got Edison in goals. I've got Trent, Rudiger, Diaz, who I've had it all the way through. I did use my last transfer last week, so I moved out Mora, who was a bit disappointed in the end. I think he scored in the FA Cup game, and he got a couple of 7 ratings, and he did start most of the games, but they just didn't quite get the points and get the goals, did he? So I used my last one. I moved him out for Cancelo, who I haven't had in this team all season. So he's probably a really good one to kind of get in there. So back to back 4 in this team. I got Bernardo Silva, James Madison. I said brought in. He's done okay actually. He's risen in price and his fixture is really good going forward. I know Ben was talking about that last week, and Bowen. And I've got a front 3 at the moment of Antonio still, Kane, and Ronaldo. And Kane and Ronaldo have been quite disappointing. My kind of thinking with Antonio and Bowen was they've had some fantastic fixtures. They've still got 2 great fixtures coming up now this week, which I'm excited about if they play in them. But I think they're way to Kidderminster in the FA Cup. And obviously, home to Watford. At the moment, you probably couldn't get 2 better fixtures, I don't think, given that. So I held on to him for that. I'll probably look to move Antonio on, I think, after that. But yeah, this team is around, I think it's just inside the top 5,000. This was, again, about 1,900 it got up to. But I didn't have Jota, didn't have Robertson, and those kind of players who've all gone and scored really well. Didn't have De Bruyne.
Yeah.
So I think my priority transfers going to next month. Rudiger definitely out. Antonio out after the first week, and I want to find a way of trying to squeeze in probably De Bruyne I think with Salah, I'm sure we'll touch on Salah because obviously Egypt went through this afternoon, didn't they?
Yeah,
Into the
they did,
semi-finals.
Yeah,
So
they
we've
did.
got a big decision to make there, I think. So yeah, probably De Bruyne, maybe Jota. I'm not sure. I'll obviously need to get the Salah at some points, but it's all around managing funds and stuff. So overall, okay. You know, I'm reasonably happy. But yeah, the first 2 weeks was amazing. The second 2 weeks I've slipped a little bit. So I only scored 11 points last week as well, which was I know it was like a high scoring week, but 11 points was a bit of a kick in the pants.
Yeah, like I say, the Robertson and Jota were in it. They hauled, and KDB did the business again. Harmful, but yeah, looks set.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with it. It's like players like Ronaldo and Kane, when they have sustained runs of good fixtures and they have a lot of fixtures, I like to hold on to them. And I think that even if they don't, obviously they haven't scored well in the last week or two, but I do think that people start to move off them. But they're the kind of players who, if you hold on to them long enough, I truly think they're both world class, and I think they will start to do well. And this is I think is part of the thing with Dream Team. Is coming off players a bit early, moving on to someone else, and then you end up having to move back onto them and paying extra. So hoping patience will pay off there.
Yeah, definitely. Right, as we've seen how you've done, and we've caught up with you, Fergie, we'll jump straight into the questions. Right, Paul, he's been on. Is Mahrez actually worth the 6.9 million, and making the sacrifices elsewhere, or can we get better value from Sterling or Foden, for example? That's already assuming that De Bruyne is the number one target or number one player you'd already have in the side. So basically, Sterling, Foden, are they better value than Mahrez? Ben,
Yeah.
what do you reckon, mate?
It's a tough one because obviously he's very expensive now, and you're going to be wanting back Salah soon as he comes back. And I would imagine you've already got Bernardo, who's got 109 points. He's the second highest scoring Man City midfielder after Mahrez, and he's averaging 3.9 points per game. And Mahrez is 5.7 points per game. But points per million, Bernardo's way out front. He's got 29 points, 29.46. How many beers you had? Yeah, he's got 29.46 points per million. Compared to Mahrez's 19.86 points per million. So you can't grumble with Bernardo just being in your team. Like, I'd keep him in there if you've got him. And then obviously you got Sterling, who's really cheap now. He's 4.8 million. I just think he could be a good wild card to have.
I think on the average, when it are the top 1K or the top 100, I think it might have been the top 1K we did, the average estimated ownership was over 2. I think it was 2.5 City midfielders that people had. So I'd probably take from that most people have got De Bruyne and Silva. And then a lot of people got a sprinkling of someone else, haven't they? I mean, if you compare Mahrez to Foden, Sterling, I think he outshines him. I know you hear the comments as well about Mahrez. He just does it in the Champions League. I had a quick look into that as well, just after hearing it, because it is something that pops up because he seems to start more games in the Champions League. He seems to get more minutes in the Champions League, and he's played 6 games in the Champions League and got 50 points out of those games.
Yeah,
Foden's played. Sorry, I say started. I meant played. Whether he come on as a sub or whatever. Foden's took part in 5 games in the Champions League and scored 13 points. Sterling's played 6 games in the Champions League, same as Mahrez, and only scored 18 points. So he has filled his boots in the Champions League. Don't get me wrong, but then you go to the Premier League stats, and I mean, he's doing the same thing. He's played 16, 67 points. That's what he's had, Mahrez. Sterling played 19, and he's only got 2 points more than Mahrez on 69 points. And Foden's played 15 Premier League games and got 57 points. I know what you're saying, points per million, but as well, we touched on he's probably the most, in the last 5 games that they've played, he's the most informed player in Dream Team. In his last 5 matches, his average, or the last 5 matches, is before he went off to the AFCON. Obviously, he's one of them guys, isn't he, where he might not start, but then he comes on, he plays the next game, gets an 18 or gets a 25 or 21. He's so explosive. I think the figures that I'm looking at now, and throw on top of that his ownership, which is 1.4% in the top 1K. It's 2% in the top 100. So 2 teams in the top 100 have Mahrez. It's a massive differential. I think I wouldn't be talking anybody out of Mahrez, even at 6.9 million, if you can afford him, because I think a lot of people have drummed up a lot of been able to gain quite a lot on team value. I think if you've got the cash there at 6.9 million, I'd go for him. Just my opinion.
It's going to be hard to get Salah and Mahrez as well in your team, though.
Yeah, you're going to have to make a sacrifice elsewhere. But, I mean, if you say, like, the strikers have probably been faltering, haven't they? But if you put Salah up top with a Daka, that's your value back. All right, you might have to lose a Ronaldo, but United aren't ripping up any trees. You would have to sacrifice somewhere, like you say, to have a Salah, Mahrez. But I think it's possibly a punt worth having, especially with Leicester's games and Daka being that value at 3.3 million. Well, I think he is. I think that could give you the money to afford that.
I just think it's you're using transfers up. Like Ronaldo's averaging 6 points per game.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not done too good lately, but he's on penalties.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And they've got extra games United this month as well. So
yeah.
I wouldn't be advising selling Ronaldo, to tell you the truth.
No.
It's going to be funny though, because on Friday when the games start again, is he going to be in the starting lineup for Middlesbrough? Then there'll be a few people thinking, "Oh, shall I jump off here on Saturday to Mahrez?"
Yeah, itchy feet. Itchy feet.
Going to be a lot of people that will be like shifting about, won't there?
Yeah, there is going to be a lot of shifting about, and especially when these players come back from AFCON. You've got Mane coming back, Salah coming back. You've also got the return of Son from injury. There's going to be a lot of chopping and changing. But yeah, James, what do you reckon, mate?
Iheanacho's back as well.
Iheanacho, yeah.
Well, there's actually 32 mil midfielders with a higher points per million than Mahrez, but that's not to say he's not a good pick. I mean, I looked at the points per million as well, so I won't go over what Ben said again, but I think it's quite interesting. The second highest Man City midfielder in terms of points per million is actually Rodri. But you wouldn't really consider him, would you? He's 3.4 million. He's, Bernardo's knocking it out the park at 29 points per million. And then you've got Rodri at 20 and then Riyadh at 19. So, I still think he's a good option. And Sterling's just below that. He's only 4.8 million. De Bruyne is all the way down at 15 points per million, believe it or not. So, but clearly he's had a bit of patchy form at the start of the season, a few injuries. He looks like he's back to his best now. So I wouldn't read too much into that. What do you reckon, Fergie? Anything we've missed?
I think it's opinion, I suppose. Excuse me. I just think it's where you want to spend your cash. I think that I personally, I don't think I'll spend 6.9 on Mahrez. I have got Ronaldo already to kind of, for Ben's argument, like Ronaldo this month now, Middlesbrough, Burnley, Southampton, Brighton, Leeds, Atlanta, and Watford. I won't be, unless Ronaldo is dropped from the team. I think he's in. Whereas City have got 6. You expect Mahrez probably to play 3, maybe 4 of those. I'm sure he'll do well. The difference for me with teams like Man City is the points can go literally anywhere in the front line, and I think that's the difference with like United. All right, Bruno had that 1 week where Ronaldo didn't play, but when Ronaldo plays, Ronaldo's generally the only person who scores any points. So I personally think that Sterling at 4.8, because if you think like going up to maybe end of November into December, Sterling only just started to get kind of regular game time in the team, and what he's done since then is, I think it's been awesome. So I think for 2 million less, I personally think that, and Sterling for me, I think when you guys mentioned this last week, but he's hat-trick material Sterling, isn't he? Whereas I don't think Mahrez is. So I personally think that, I mean, if you can afford them and get everyone else you want, it's probably a no-brainer. But
Yeah.
I think that's very unlikely. So I'd probably go towards Sterling, and maybe, if you've got, I don't know, Edison, Cancelo, Laporte, Bernardo, Sterling, and maybe another, I think that'll likely kind of cover off Mahrez's points, if that makes sense. But a differential as well is to maybe do what I did last year and maybe just go all in on Man City, go 8 or 9, because their fixtures are just, my goodness, Fulham, Brentford, Norwich, their next 3, they could all be cricket scores, right? You could go full on Grealish, Jesus, Foden, and go in on all of them. If you're looking for a differential, I'll touch that a little bit later. The differentials, but yeah, I just think that Mahrez I think he's too expensive to bring in now, personally.
In an ideal world, you'd have Mahrez in your team, though, wouldn't you? But obviously, with the price,
would.
it's a bit hard at the minute now.
It is, yeah. If you've got that money left and you're perfectly happy with the other, you do the 10, absolutely. But if you're having to sacrifice a very, very good player to put him in, I don't think I'd be doing it personally. But
So in my top side, I've got Lukaku, who's going to come out at 5.1 mil. I've got 7.3 million in my budget. I could do Lukaku to Salah when needed. Obviously, just bear in mind to say Salah's back. So Salah, 8.2 million. If I do Lukaku to that, that'd give me a front 3 of Kane, Jota, Salah. So I'll be going out without Ronaldo. I've got a midfield of Maddison, Silva, De Bruyne, Bowen. I could then move Maddison or Bowen onto Mahrez, just for example. So if I were making the sub, so I had a decision to make, bring in Mahrez or Sterling or Foden, say, with the back 3 of Cancelo, Rudiger, Trent, Alisson in the net. So in that team, I could afford, if I went without Ronaldo, I could afford to have Mahrez and Salah.
Yeah.
With the way United are playing, I can't see myself bringing Ronaldo into that side. I can't justify it, because I think they've been shite United for quite a while now, and I know Ronaldo has that ability to blitz teams. He could score 3-4, especially with their fixtures. They've got such handsome fixtures that it looks great on paper, but they're just flattering to deceive at the minute. And so, if you had the choice, forget about the value. Forget about the value. Mahrez, Foden, or Sterling for the rest of the season.
Oh, Mahrez, definitely. If you could just pick a team now with no value, Mahrez.
Yeah.
And if you don't have Ronaldo already, I'm like thinking because most of my teams have got Ronaldo, so I wouldn't sell Ronaldo for Mahrez.
Definitely, you wouldn't do that, making the two transfers.
You haven't got Ronaldo, so you can choose between the two.
Yeah, so kind of like the better City option for me. The stats say is Mahrez, but you wouldn't sacrifice Ronaldo, in the sense you wouldn't take Ronaldo out just to get Mahrez in.
No, I probably wouldn't.
But if you've not got Ronaldo in your team and you've got Kane, Jota, and you've still got the cash to bring in Salah, then surely Mahrez is the option.
If it don't affect your other team,
I think it's close. I think it's close between Mahrez and Sterling, and I think the thing for me, I know you mentioned about if money's no option, but there will likely be a point for me because obviously Liverpool have just bought Diaz
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
There will likely be a time where you're going to want to upgrade Jota, I would guess, to a heavy hitter like Kane, Ronaldo, whoever it is. So I think for me, with that in mind, like thinking the longer game, I'd go for Sterling. But in terms of your question, I think I'd go Sterling, just because I think that since December, Sterling has played more, and it'd be interesting to see the points per game since Sterling started playing regularly. But I wouldn't be surprised if Sterling's up there. And when Mahrez doesn't play, Sterling has been on some pens as well, haven't he?
Yeah.
It's a bit slapdash, isn't it, with City and penalties? It
is
really
all
random. You just don't know who's going to be on them.
No.
They make that like, with substitutes going on and off, and you just don't know who's on the pitch at the time. But yeah, definitely.
I just think like £7 million for someone who plays every other game.
Yeah, it is a lot of money.
There's no one else who does that.
I think he scored like 7 goals in December, Sterling, but he didn't really do very well in January.
His stats, I was looking at it the other day. Sterling's last 3 games he didn't do a lot, but the 3 or 4 before that he did really well.
I think obviously, Mahrez is the highest scoring midfielder on the game at the minute, and he's a pissing nuisance because, like you say, he doesn't play every game, and he is a lot of money. But every time he's playing, he's doing the business, and that's why his value is so high. Yeah. Because when he misses a game, obviously he doesn't go down in value, so it doesn't matter. But every time he's on the pitch, he's earning them 0.2 rises, 0.3 rises.
Yeah, you're right.
Because he's doing the business, and that's probably why his points per game's pretty high as well at 5.7. Obviously Sterling's points per game is at 3.4, but he's obviously playing a little bit more than what Mahrez does. It's a tricky one, I think, as well. With City midfielders, you're always like, they're so fine margins, and like you say, like the points can go anywhere in that City side. You could have Gundogan go and just score 2, and everyone's just left with egg on their face because no one's got Gundogan. But it's not surprising when he does just bury 2. No. Whereas when you look at, say, for example, Liverpool with the three midfielders, apart from Fabinho, who's an absolute goal machine. But if you look at their 3, usually their points come from the forward line. You got Mane, Jota, Firmino, and Salah. The points usually come from them. Whereas City, you're probably looking at 7 players. And then Cancelo, throw him into the mix where he loves a goal and assist. It's a tricky one with the City.
I think it's like a team value and structure call as well.
Yeah,
like I
definitely.
say, I personally like to keep my team, if I can, as flexible as possible to be able to make future moves really easily in one move. Whereas, like I say, if your structure is kind of already like that and you can afford Mahrez, no brainer. But like I say, I'd be very surprised if people can afford all these 7.5, 8 million players and be able to have change for Mahrez.
Yeah, definitely.
I just correct what I said earlier. From the 21st of November to the 26th of December, Sterling got 7 goals. And then he's not scored since.
Yep.
But they only played, was it 3 games in January?
Pardon?
4, was it? City only played 3 or 4 games in January, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because they're out of the Carabao and all that,
yeah,
weren't they?
4 games.
Yeah, 4 games, yeah.
He's due one.
He's due.
Usually happens. It usually happens, doesn't it? Right, we'll move on. Andy Boynett, SDT lowdown. Being around 130 points behind the overall leaders in Dream Team, you can't stray far from the players the top 100 already own, because if they bang, you'll have at least 60 teams in the top 100 getting further away from you. Here's my team, which we'll have a run through in a second for people on listening on Spotify or Anchor. I have 1 transfer left for January. I think I'll need 2 differential players that less than 20% of the top 100 own. I also don't want to use more than 2 transfers for my budget at the beginning of Feb. What 3 transfers, including the one I have left, would you make to set up my team for February and attack the top 100? He's having a decent season. He's Andy, and he's got 9.4 million in the bank. He could afford a Mahrez there, couldn't he? He could. But yeah, 9.4 million in the bank. His team at the moment is Ederson in goal, Cancelo, Trent, and Laporte at the back, Silva, De Bruyne, Bowen, and Foden, and up top it's got Firmino, Lukaku, and Jota. It's up to you, Fergie, on this one.
He's got a fantastic team. My goodness
Yeah.
me, it's difficult to say what to do. I suppose, obviously, you get to see the lineup for the Chelsea game against Plymouth in the FA Cup. If Lukaku starts at one, I think it's going to be quite tough to take him out, even though they do only have one game that week. If he doesn't start, absolute no-brainer. Obviously, get rid of him for either. You could do either a forward or a defender. There, you could maybe move on for someone like Robertson or Diaz maybe, or someone along those lines. But I would personally, because Salah especially, and maybe Mane. I think Mane's playing now as we're chatting, aren't we? I doubt. Well, they definitely won't be back for the Cardiff game in the FA Cup, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be surprised if they play for the Leicester game. So Jota and Firmino, who he's got up front, will probably start both those games, and they're both really good fixtures as well. And the rest of his team is really, really good. So, in a very, very roundabout way, I would probably, apart from the Lukaku one, I probably wouldn't touch him for the first week, because I think he's got a really nice mixture of differentials there with Firmino, just as an example. Got them anyway. And I think what I would be tempted to do is leave it and look to use them then after the first week, once Salah and Mane are back. And the thing is, you're going to have a lot more information then as well, because someone else might become injured, just as an example, Foden might be injured, or De Bruyne might get injured, and you've got as much information as possible there to do it. So I can't see any moves to kind of rush in there, I've got to be honest. I don't know if you guys think any differently.
James?
Well, it's always difficult, isn't it? I'm in a similar situation with some of my teams. I've still got some transfers left, and the team is set up pretty well. And you're like, well, I don't know what's going to happen with those FA Cup lineups. So I've made a couple of transfers last week to get on some price rises, and I've still got some left. And I'm like, if I was Andy, I'd be considering doing Daka for Firmino. But like Fergie said, if Firmino plays against Cardiff, he could bang. But I think obviously Firmino is more of a short-term option. I think, because obviously Salah and Mane are coming back at some point soon. The one thing I would say is I would be looking to move Bowen on around Saturday the 12th for potentially someone like Maddison, because West Ham they've got a couple of fixtures this coming weekend. Then they've only got one game, and I think it's a fairly tough one. And then they don't have as many fixtures, because their European games don't restart until a bit later, do they? So I would, Leicester have got plenty of fixtures. So yeah, if you was to switch to Leicester, you'd be gaining a couple of fixtures over West Ham. So I'd be tempted to move to do that move. But yeah, it's like Fergie said, it's a pretty well set up team. There's no major fires apart from the Firmino and Lukaku. Probably need to have a plan to get Salah back at some point, because he's essential. But even now that they've gone through, they're through to the AFCON final. Looks like Mane's going to be at the AFCON final as well. Looking at the current score. Sorry?
Semi-finals, I think they're through.
Sorry, semi-finals, yeah. But the thing is, there's the third and fourth playoff, isn't there? So they're stuck out there now until...
it's on the same day as the final.
Yeah.
On the 6th of Feb.
6th of
So because they're through, it means they're stuck there now, yeah.
Yeah, they're stuck there now
Regardless
until
of the
the
result
6th of February.
You'd imagine if they win it as well, there's going to be celebrations in
There'll be a
Egypt.
parade and whatever else you guess.
They're only playing 120 minutes a game, aren't they, Egypt? That's right.
Exactly.
Not bad, does it? What do you reckon, Ben, about Andy's team?
Yeah, it's pretty set up very well for the FA Cup. Firmino is only 5% owned in the top 100,
Yeah,
so I'd keep him for the Cardiff game if he starts. Lukaku obviously he's only got one game. It's gonna be hard, but I'd probably would move him on to either Diaz, Laporte, or Robertson. But if he wants a differential, Diaz is 6% owned in the top 100, and Laporte is 5% owned, while Robertson's 73%
he's got
owned.
Laporte, mate.
Oh, sorry.
He's got Laporte.
All right, yeah.
Diaz
Diaz
Robertson.
Diaz is 6% owned in the top 100. Robertson's 73% owned. So if he wants to differentiate it, and then he's got 4 Man City defenders, so he could go with Diaz. But then like when next week comes, he's got the easy option of bringing Salah back in from one of his midfielders or defenders, because he's only got 2 up front then.
Yeah.
And what I kind of mentioned earlier, because I'm not very pro differentials for differentials' sake personally, because the players are at the top and the players doing well for a reason, is that they're the best players to own. But if someone is looking to go differential, this is kind of what I mentioned earlier. You could try and just go, like, just for example, all in on Man City, or maybe all in on Liverpool. I personally think that's a better way of going different by a combination of players, rather than going for someone just a punt. I personally think anyway, because that way, if Man City win, like City have got 6 games, all really good games. Liverpool have got 6 games, all really good games. You'd expect there to be a couple of hide-ins in there as well. If Man City win, as they were last year, 4-5-6-0, and you've got 8 Man City players, and other people have only got 4, 5, or 6, that's your differential. So I think that would be my advice on differential. I wouldn't be going for someone like, Rashford, or or just some, Iheanacho's going back. Let's go for Iheanacho. I just. I think you want to go for
say
players.
Daka then, Fergie. I thought you were going to say Daka.
Yeah, well, with Iheanacho back, this is the problem. Is Daka going to play like nearly every game? I think Daka is really good. And I think he is. It's just, is Daka going to be someone you're going to want long term? He's a transfer out waiting to happen for me.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go, as I say, all in on Liverpool or Man City, odds are you're going to want him for the rest of the season regardless. So it's just a different approach is what I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, I had down here. Obviously, depending on lineups, which is tricky, because Lukaku, if he does start that game in the cup, you're not taking him out, are you? It'd be a brave man to take him out.
Really hard one, that is, isn't it? It's a tough one. Yeah.
Be a very brave man. I think you'd probably punt on Lukaku. Getting enough points in that game to see off a double game week of somebody else.
It's just that last FA Cup game, he got took off at half time, was so disheartening.
He did. It was shocking.
Yeah,
and that could happen again if he kept him in, and then they didn't quite fire it first half, so they took Lukaku off. Brought I don't know, Werner on for the second half, and Werner goes and scores 4. But yeah, it's such a well set up team. Like you say, if you're thinking differential, Firmino is a differential. He plays against Cardiff. You've got Luis Diaz, who's just signed from Porto, who's going to throw another spanner into Liverpool works. Salah, Mane coming back. Firmino and Jota, I think they're both vying for that central role. I'd say Diaz is a winger. Would you, James?
From what the little I know about him at the moment, I have done a little bit of research into him. He's predominantly a left-sided forward. However, he can play across the front 3. So you would think that his game, Mane or Firmino would be the ones that I would think would likely to be lose game time. I can't see Salah being taken out of the side. Of course, he might want to rest him now and again, but that's no different to usual. But he plays most minutes, so I would. My guess would be he'll be sharing game time with Manny and Firmino.
Yeah. I think Firmino's probably getting phased out of that side now. I think Jota brought in as a younger man, the man to replace him, and I think now the transition is happening this season. He's becoming an important player to Liverpool, and it's always a risk. It's always a risk because he isn't one of the big hitters, is he? He's not Salah. He's not somebody who demands to play every single game. But I think he's getting to that point.
I'll tell you what though, if he starts taking a lot of Mane's game time, Mane will not be happy because when he hates being substituted. But
He's an angry guy.
He's the last season or so he's been okay, but prior to that he always ends up with a muscle strain or issue. So I think Klopp used to take him off a bit more, but he seems to have got over that. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
The muscle strains might be coming from getting angry about being substituted. Because if we've seen that a few times, he does throw a bit of a wobbler, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's pointing over people. Yeah, he is a little bit.
Can I just ask you? I mean, going back to Andy's question, in the sense that he's got that final transfer left. Would you use that final transfer? Yes or no? Looking at his team, because that's what he's going to be asking himself, and it is okay not to use a transfer and make a move, but would you do that?
If it was me, I'd do Foden to Sterling, personally.
Yeah.
If it was my team, just because it's a free hit, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to use it, and there's no other real obvious move. But like I say, that's just
I think that's a good shout, actually. Foden's not been firing at all, has he, so far? He was just waiting for him to bang, but it's not happening so far.
He's funny, Foden. He's not an incredible player. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's an absolutely brilliant player, but he's not at that. He doesn't get the chances that someone like Sterling gets. And like Sterling's just more of a goal scorer, isn't he? He gets more chances, and so that's the reason I do that move. But it's pushing it. That's a pure luxury move, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably do the Lukaku move to a defender.
Yeah, I can't argue.
And then you've got 2 for 1 then. And then you can reassess when you get your new transfers.
Yeah.
Lukaku's going to get 1 game at least. But he might not play, so...
If he does play, they haven't done a lot, has he?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I don't think he scored more than 1 goal since I can't even remember when in a game.
No.
Last time I said this, I had it drastically wrong, but I can't remember him scoring a brace in a...
I think you're right. Yeah,
and he's not
scored a brace for Chelsea. I don't even know.
I don't think he has.
I think he did on his debut, didn't he? That was about it against Villa. I can't remember any other ones. He's not on penalties either, which is a proper bummer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd probably do.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout, actually, Ben. I think that is a good shout, actually.
Yeah. Like I say, is he going to play? His first question. If he does play, is he really going to do much? Third question is he going to get subbed at half time, put Werner on or somebody else? And
even if they are 2-0 up or 3-0 up, they're off to the World's Club Cup that afternoon. I think they're flying out, aren't they? So they're not going to give him a needless 90 minutes, are they?
No, definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. When they've obviously they managed it in the last round as well. So
exactly.
Yeah, probably that's probably worth the punt. Lukaku out to say a Robertson or a Diaz. A Diaz would give him 4, City at the back. That'd probably be a bit of a differential in the top lot because I think it's quite heavy Liverpool, isn't it? Up there. I think what we looked at the estimated ownership. I think City's probably the differential out of the two.
Man City. Oh, this is overall, mind. Let's just have a look. In the top 100, Man City's defensive effective ownership in the top 100 is 113%. So if you've got like 4 of them, That's a massive differential.
Yeah.
Liverpool's is really high, 317, which is why my team has flown down because I've only got Trent.
Yeah, definitely. That was the difference that week with Van Dijk as well. I think we forgot to touch on it. Obviously, he got his goal. So, yeah, City is the differential because, as well, Andy, you've got the balls to go for City at the back. Obviously, people aren't going to be moving from Liverpool across to City. That's nailed in now. I think you're going to see a real head-to-head now over this next month of City defence, City block versus Liverpool block. And then you'll have the people in the middle that have got 2 or 3, one way or the other.
And it's funny because like Man City's defensive stats are far superior to Liverpool's. It's just that every time City concede a shot, they tend to concede a goal. Whereas Alisson's like Spider-Man in the net, and he's unbelievable.
Yeah. They've been silly goals as well that City have been conceding. It's really frustrating to watch.
It is.
Right, jumping on BT Patrick. Any thoughts on whether Fernandes could be a points machine this month? Not on penalties and output seems to have been diminished by Ronaldo's arrival, but he's got a high ceiling and he seems to be have been given a freer role recently. Fernandes in United. Ben, what do you reckon about Fernandes, mate?
It's another tough one. Like, if you've already got me in your team, I'd keep him for this month. But he is an option. He's actually averaging more points than Foden and Sterling over the whole season. He's got 3.8 points, and Foden's got 3.7, and Sterling's got 3.4. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Obviously not on penalties anymore, but he's got 10 assists this season, 7 goals, 3-star man, 13.7 ratings. So he's plodding along. He's not like getting all the plaudits because Ronaldo seems to be always in the headlines, but I don't mind it. It's just he's 5.2, and you can get Bernardo, who's 3.7, and he's averaging 3.9 points per game. So it's a tricky one. What do you think,
James?
I don't know. I agree with Ben. If I didn't have him, I wouldn't bring him in, but I would probably keep him. With 7 fixtures in February, and you couldn't. It looks like a very easy run, doesn't it? Middlesbrough, Burnley away, Southampton at home, Brighton at home, Leeds away, Atletico Madrid in there. That could be a tricky one, and then they play Watford. So you're not going to get much better run than that. Although, as we've said before on the pod, United have struggled against some of these lower sides. So I wouldn't be bringing him in, but if you've got him, probably a hold.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I just think it completely depends on whether Ronaldo is fit or not. I think the moment Ronaldo gets injured, I think jump on Bruno because they just play completely different system when Ronaldo's injured and Bruno just comes. Is exactly like watching them last year, wasn't it? When Ronaldo missed the Villa game, was it? Just Bruno just stepped up. I know he had a little bit of luck with the first goal, but I think if Ronaldo gets injured, I think it's right. Let's get on Bruno time. Otherwise, same. Agree with Ben and James. If you've got him, keep. If not, probably wouldn't bother personally.
Yeah, I don't think I've got much to add to that. Obviously, United being very, I'm going to say hit and miss, but more miss than hit. But like you say, without Ronaldo, Fernandes is a different player. He's a different animal. He's such a good player. He's such a talented player, and it's a shame that he's been stuck in such a bad United side. He's very, very good, and he's got points in him. And if Ronaldo's be out for any length of time, all over Fernandes, especially if he gets them penalties back. Right, Connor's been on. Any good budget options? 3.5 million lower. Kulusevski. You're probably better at that, Fergie, than me. You'll have to get used to saying that name, maybe. Has just signed for Spurs. Should be 3.5 million or under. Definitely one to watch. What do you reckon, Fergie? A few budget options, and what do you know of Kulusevski?
Not an awful lot, I must say. I think he's very much kind of one for the future by the look of it. I think that he could be. I wouldn't be putting him in by the look of it this season. It's probably fair to say because obviously they're out of Europe now, aren't they? So it's not really probably what I'd be looking at. And Spurs are hardly playing well. But a few other options. We mentioned Daka, obviously. I think I don't know if Ben knows a bit more around what when Iheanacho will be back. Maybe Vardy's back in 2 weeks. I just think with those kind of moves, even if Vardy's back in 2 or 3 weeks, it's just kind of a transfer almost waiting to happen, which is why I'm not really bothered for making those kind of transfers. But he is, he's really cheap at 3.3. I think Walker from Man City at 3.4. We mentioned everyone accepting really, but they're down to the bare bones really at the back of the moment, aren't they? Apart from Stones.
Did you see? Sorry, Fergie. Did you see Walker's been banned in Europe for a couple of games?
Oh no.
Yeah, so he got sent off, and I don't know, I can't remember.
Of course he did, yeah.
But it came out that he's actually been banned for a couple of games. So
I think it's 3 games.
That would kind of put me off a little bit because that's obviously a couple of
really
fixtures he can't play.
It's a really good point, actually. Yeah, it probably means that he may play a bit more in the league, so they've only got one
probably
in
guaranteed,
February.
True.
So you'd have maybe 5 league games in February. Probably play 4 of them, maybe. But no, that's a really good point there, James. Dallo at 3.3 and Telles at 3.4 as well. Like, I'm still not sure, on the status of Wan-Bissaka and Shaw, but they seem to have usurped them a bit. I think I'd be a little bit more keen on Telles if he's definitely taking Shaw's place, because he takes some free kicks and corners as well, doesn't he? And stuff. They're a bit of a punt, really. Digne 2.6. In the short term. The one I'm quite interested in, I'm not sure if you mentioned this last week, Ben. I can't remember if it was like a bit of a joke, but Van der Beek has just gone to Everton.
Yeah.
And
is he signed now?
Yeah.
He's 1.3 million, and he's going to play number 10, right? And Everton in February have got Brentford, Newcastle, Leeds, Southampton as their first 4 games. Now, I'm not saying take out Mahrez for Van der Beek.
Yeah.
But obviously, we talked about earlier, didn't we? How do we get in Salah and Mar and whatever? And if you're absolutely desperate, you've probably got someone who you would guess would play every game in a number 10 with really good fixtures. He could be an enabler. So, John, I don't know if I'm cheeky enough to put him in as my differential in the differential league. So I bet he's like 0%. I don't know if I'm that brave, but just as someone who could, just completely enable the rest of your team, you might be all right. But I've got to be honest, it's a tough one because I would just rather spend my transfers a bit more on the, on the tried and tested and the better players. Personally, I always struggle with these punts because more often than not, they're transfers in and transfers out, which is a couple of transfers. And I say a differential, I would rather go heavy on a team rather than that. But yeah, sorry, not much to add there.
You see who scored today for Forest, Fergie?
Don't tell me Keenan scored, did he?
Yeah, off the bench.
He did.
Come on.
2-2 now.
I think they've won every game since he signed, haven't they, or something? I heard as well. He's legend.
Yeah,
he was just at the wrong club, wasn't he? He was just at the wrong club, wasn't he?
Yeah. James, what you reckon, mate?
I struggle with these ones a little bit as well because the trouble is you bring in one of these cheapies unless you're absolutely sure, you might have to take him out again, and there aren't many options in these cheap players. There's not many in that sort of price bracket. So if you want to switch him for someone else, you're looking at a very small pool of players again. That's the problem. So we mentioned Daka. We've mentioned him for weeks. 3.3. Mora's only 3.5, but he hasn't really been doing a great. He had a little burst, didn't he? And then he seems to have reverted to type. So I'm struggling in that bracket. Ben's usually pretty good with the cheapies. Although I do like the Van der Beek shout. I see Frank Lampard's just been confirmed as manager, so I would have thought Van der Beek be a shoo-in. But yeah, Ben, come dazzle us with your amazing differential cheapy picks.
Hey, I'm surprised Van der Beek didn't go to Palace in the end because he's married to Dennis Bergkamp's daughter, and obviously he's friends with Patrick Vieira. He's supposed to be going there. That's obviously I heard when Frank Lampard were going to Everton. Has he got the job yet?
He has.
Yeah,
I
it's just been
flash up on the
confirmed.
phone.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So he must have got that in. Said, "Oh, I want him for when I come."
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned Daka, which is he's starting at the moment, but Ian Nacho coming back now. That's going to be interesting because Daka hasn't played the full 90 in the last 2 games. He's been taken off, and but he got a goal in both games. So, and with Ian Nacho coming back, that's more competition for him. So that's I don't know, it's tricky. I think he'll start for now. I think you can't go wrong. You just got with Bernardo Silva, 3.7 million. I know it's a little bit more, but you can't go
cheating.
wrong with him, can you? Even like he got up a little bit more. Madison's 3.9.
3.5, he said.
You're right.
Yeah, but
These are the players who are potentially season keepers, aren't they?
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
play them and leave them. It's just the point of trying to go, unless you're desperate for budget, but you're using transfers, aren't you? And I don't want to do that really.
I like the look of Coutinho as well, but he's 3.3 million, but only 4 games and no FA Cup. That's the only problem. Good fixtures though for this month. Lookman's 2.5, but he's not like an indispensable player of the starting lineup, so he could be taken out when Nacho comes back. So
yeah.
it's tricky.
That one that flagged up for me is Conor Gallagher at 3.3 million. Obviously got the cup game. Is it Hartlepool?
Yeah.
Or is it Harrogate?
No, it's Hartlepool.
I think it's Hartlepool.
Hartlepool.
Yeah.
Then Norwich, Brentford, Chelsea, Burnley.
Good month.
It's a decent month from 5 fixtures. Obviously, he's someone who'll play. He's scored quite a few goals. He's a bit of a talisman for them, isn't he?
Yeah, could go up in value as well.
Yeah. Like Lads are saying is, unless you are scraping around for budget and you're in a team that you probably only got a 50 million budget or a little bit more. Yeah, you got to go for the tried, trusted, and the usual picks. It's pointless taking it too differential because you'll drop.
I think with Gallagher, it's probably fair to say that he wouldn't be able to play his parent club in Chelsea.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So he misses there'll be a massive gap for him there as well.
Yeah, good shout, Fergie. So probably 4 fixtures. That's if he plays the cup game. Good fixtures though. Norwich, Brentford, Burnley. I don't think they get much better than that. Is 2 of the bottom 3, is it? But yeah, under 3.5 million. What more have you got?
Could do the old goalkeeper trick. Kasper Schmeichel, 2.5 million. Loads of games this month.
He's got loads of fixtures, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Did we touch on this a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Saying he'll be a brave man with all the -2s coming in.
He's got he's got his blue tinted glasses on again. I think.
Well, 2 games against Randers in the Conference League. That's what's jumping out at me. And what was it? We said that he got the worst rating against Man City on Boxing Day, and then he got the best rating for a goalkeeper in this season against Liverpool on 28th.
That reminds me.
Unreal. Another one, 2.6 is Lanzini at West Ham. 2.6 million. West Ham. It's not one you want to really be jumping on that train, but obviously Kidderminster, Watford.
Ben Rama be back as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah, which is going to start harming the chances of players like him, and that's what you get when you start delving lower down there. You want players that be playing. But yeah, there's a few decent options in there, and there's options that could come good. But yeah,
I think a way of I was thinking this earlier of trying to like express a way of like of how to try and make boring play be really exciting and winning. But I think that by by not being like different for different's sake
Mm,
and wearing your opponents down with just being really really consistent and having a good team all the time, and managing your budget and your team structure really well
yeah,
over a period of 8 or 9 months, to me is far better kind of winning play. Like I'm in a mini league and I was 160 points behind 6 weeks ago, and I kind of written it off, to be honest. And I had a look, and I haven't made any rogue moves. I very rarely do make rogue moves. And I had a look, and I'm 40 behind now, and it's because it's like a war of attrition. This game, it's like who blinks first almost. And if you
yeah,
can just play a really sensible, strong, you know, um, well thought out game, you probably end up winning the majority of mini leagues. Unless you're in mini leagues where you're playing against shit hot players who do the exact same thing, right? But
yeah,
I think like not trying to be too clever and not going different is a differential when it comes to this stage of the season.
yeah,
With adding that in, I think.
yeah. Definitely echo that. Like I say, you just got to play sensible. Like, as well, what we're not in February yet. We're obviously when it kicks back off, we're into February, March, April, May, sort of 4 months. I mean, for some really, like you say, rogue moves and some like real differentials when you're desperate, that's your last couple of months, I'd say, and trying to maximise that. But at this moment in time, it's about playing sensible, getting them big hitters in there, them people that are consistently picking up points. Yeah, how many times you get sent through a team and they've no Cancelo or no Trent, and
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
thinking, well, you're chasing because you've not got these players, and it might sound boring, but put them in, and then concentrate elsewhere because they're the players that will pick your points up. Anyway, yeah. C Tobbs has been on. He's wondering how much Luis Diaz will be for Liverpool. Obviously, looking through his stats, he seems like he's had quite an exciting start to the season for Porto. Obviously, he's not done much of them stats like the previous years, but he looks like he's come good somewhere. And obviously, Liverpool have signed him. It'll be an interesting one to see. He's still playing catch up on this team. Any moves you would make to help to get on top? He's around 45 points from the top now. He's in third place. He's got 2.3 million in the bank. We're going to have a readout of his team. Murder on Zidane's floor. Edison, Robertson, Rudiger, Cancelo, Van Dijk, Mount, Silva, Foden, Bowen, Ronaldo and Antonio. And obviously there we can both see his mini league rivals teams. I hope all you can. There's two there, obviously, that are a few points above him. Not that far out of reach. What do you reckon, guys? Ben, what do you reckon, mate?
I think he's got a brilliant team. Obviously, the Chelsea boys have got to go. One fixtures next week. It's just a big thing. I think you've got to get on a 2-for-1. I'd say Rudiger's got to go. Obviously, you want Trent, but I'm not sure he can afford it. He's got 2.3 million. Did you say? 2.3 million. So I'd be trying to get Trent in there, but he's got Van Dijk and Robertson. So if he wants to try and save budget, he could go to Laporte or Diaz. And then with Mount, he can either go to De Bruyne or bring in Jota, 5.4 million. I'd keep the West Ham lads for this week, definitely for them fixtures. But obviously, we don't know who's going to start. Antonio's been away with Jamaica, hasn't he? I don't.
Yeah.
I think they've got 3 games. Jamaica. I don't know how many games he's played in.
Fucking hell. Them hamstrings, they're rolling up, aren't they? Jesus Christ.
I can't
He's
believe
not
how
had
fit
one
he
yet, has
stayed
he?
this season.
Oh, he's got to go soon, hasn't it? It's like playing Buckaroo. It's teetering. It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's like that, ready to snap. Shit me. Other than that, yeah, obviously he might have put a lot of work in over at summer. I mean, yeah, it just seems like it's an accident waiting to happen, Antonio. But he's doing all right. What do you reckon, James?
To be honest, you know what? I think Ben nailed it then with those recommendations.
Thank you very much.
I don't think I can improve upon that.
Fergie?
No, I agree. Rudiger to Laporte, and then alternative to Jota, you could look at Sterling, you could look at Maddison, but I think Jota's probably the best one there, I would say. So yeah, I think they're pretty obvious, and just start to think of how you're going to get Salah in would be the thing. If you're tossing up between a couple of players and one's $500,000 less, for example, you may think I maybe should be keep back, because his money's very, very spread in that team, isn't it? There's no easy way to Salah. Yeah. There's only Ronaldo maybe, which you assume he might, he may want to keep. So, but yeah, excellent team.
Yeah, for me, I went a little bit different. I thought he needs to get KDB in there. He's going to take Mount out. I want to see KDB in that side. Yeah. Mount to KDB. And with the money, then you want to get rid of Rudiger. So if you wanted to play 4 at the back, Robertson, your option is Laporte. But if not, you want to go 3-4-3. Daka. I keep saying his name every pod now, and I'm hoping he bangs it. He's last 2 weeks. Obviously, he's had a go, hasn't he?
Yeah,
an 8 and an 8. He lost Starman later on or the other week, but yeah, Mount to KDB, Rudiger to Daka or Laporte. For me, C-Tobs. Right. Demi. Want some advice on some subs. Hopefully you guys can see his team there, which is Sarr in goal, Rudiger, Diaz, Robertson, Walker, Silva, Fernandes, De Bruyne, Jota, Ronaldo, Antonio. He's got 1.1 million in the bank. What can you do for Demi, James?
Well, first, he did say his plan was Antonio out, Salah in, Rudiger out, Trent in.
Yeah,
but he's only got
just to clarify.
He's only got 1.1 million in the bank.
So I messaged Demi about this.
Any of those moves?
Yeah. So I said to Demi, I messaged him after that and said, "Is that before you make them planned moves, or is that afterwards? Because that's some expensive moves you've got there."
Yeah.
And he said that is, so he's got 1.1 million in the bank. Forget about his plan.
Okay.
He's got 1.1 million in the bank. Can you make his plan happen?
No, not easily. He could downgrade Fernandes, I guess. He's already got Ronaldo. So that might be an area where he could free up some funds, although Fernandes is not as pricey as he once was. I think you'd keep Antonio for the next couple of fixtures and then look to move him on. And of course, he will want Salah back, so he could do Ronaldo to Salah. But United's fixtures are great.
I think he needs Van der Beek.
Hey,
I think he needs Van der Beek.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Rudiger, obviously. So he ain't got much money, has he? So the best cheap defender there is Laporte, 4.5 million.
Yeah.
And then Antonio, I'd leave him this week if he starts that Kidderminster game, and then look at it again next week. And then when I think Salah might miss the Cardiff, I think, but he might play Leicester. But I'd be surprised because if Egypt win the cup, like we said, they're going to be celebrating like mad, didn't they?
But are they not predominantly Muslim? They won't be getting
Yeah.
lashed up like we would.
Salah and Mane don't drink.
They'll have a really big meal.
As far as I'm pretty sure.
Do you know what I mean?
That's a good point. But yeah, they do go mad like for it.
They might like a bit of shisha or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so that's just the Rudiger one for me. I think you go to another go to Laporte.
Yeah,
for now. Yeah,
completely agree. Obviously, the money in bank, trebling up on those City defenders isn't a bad option anyway. Rudiger to Laporte is the move. Obviously, you want to try and get Trent in at some point, but fund wise, I think at some point you probably have to ditch Ronaldo. If you wanting Salah in, you have to go Ronaldo out. You're going to struggle because your money is so spread amongst all those players. So it's a tricky one, Demi. But first up is Rudiger, Laporte, I would guess.
Yeah,
I would have guessed, and then take it from there. See what the week brings.
What do you think about Jose Sarr? Obviously, he's got a good double game week this week, but then he's only got single game days because he's got no Europe after that.
They've smashed it, haven't they?
He's smashing it though, isn't he?
They've absolutely smashed it. Since I took out Semedo in my podcast team,
yeah,
I don't think they've conceded a goal since. They conceded last week, but then I think he got an assist. Yeah, they've been brilliant, Wolves, defensively. I'm loving Bruno Lage. I think he's a great manager. He's come in and obviously Spurs took Nuno from him, and I think Spurs have done Wolves a favour. I really do. I think they've got a very good manager there. I like Wolves. I like what they're trying to do. They went to Old Trafford and won the other week. Very impressive display. Not just beat them. They played them off the park. They were brilliant Wolves. They were really, really good. So yeah, I think he'd just leave him. Sarr.
He's expensive now though.
I mean, he probably put him in at 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could probably take the value out of him if he wanted to go somewhere else. Like if you were suggesting dropping the keeper back down.
Not so much, but like Alisson's only 3.8 and Edison's 3.9.
Yeah,
like it's not much of a jump now if you want to get a premium keeper.
Yeah,
but obviously not this week because of Norwich and Arsenal this week.
I think I'd do that as well. I mean, if you think like Sarr and Wolves have been absolutely incredible. But are they going to be able to keep that level of defensive, kind of up for the rest of the season? And Alisson and Edison are still matching him, even though they haven't been incredible. So
yeah, it's true.
I think I just make the move. You just get it's fixture volume at the end of it as well, isn't it? Obviously definitely. not this week, as Ben says. You can leave it this week, but like I say, by saving your transfer if you can till just 1 week later, a lot of the time, if you can, something happens that makes you change your mind on something or someone in your team, or someone gets injured, or someone gets knocked out of a cup or something, which just helps you make a decision. So if you don't have to make a transfer, I wouldn't. Obviously, Rudiger out is one, but just see what the next week brings, because how many times in fantasy is something so obvious one week, you come back next week and be like, oh my God, this is so obvious, but it wasn't a week ago, was it? It happens all the time.
True.
Right?
Really true. They are, Demi. There's your advice, mate. FF Dempsey, from Demi to Dempsey. With a number of January transfers left in a few of my teams, which players would you list as priority transfers for the month ahead? Fergie, priority transfers, mate.
Well, I suppose in terms of essential-ish players. If you haven't got Cancelo, Trent, Salah will obviously be one in a couple of weeks. I think De Bruyne is probably beginning to look like it at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think Man City and Liverpool are just the two teams to really, really go for. And then if you're looking elsewhere, like you probably missed a boat now on West Ham, for example. Madison Valletta is probably a really good option. I think I was just looking at Spurs actually, and I've got Kane, and I think next week he could be my fall guy for Salah. Looking at it, because they've got like Brighton and Southampton, but then they go Wolves, blank, Man City, blank. So, I think there's. Sorry, Ben, yeah.
Fergie, have you heard anything about the fixtures? Are they going to get anything put in there? Because there's obviously a chance they could put like Burnley and Brighton in the midweeks.
I think I think Brighton has been, it's just rumours have been earmarked to kind of go in there. But again, this is what I mean about maybe waiting a week, because if Spurs look crap against Brighton in the FA Cup and Southampton, to then play Brighton again and have Wolves, whereas Salah will be back potentially and have Burnley and is that Inter? Is it Inter?
Yeah.
You just want Salah back. Whereas if Kane goes and scores 4 goals in 2 games and looks an absolute beast, it could be have to look another way. So, but yeah, it's a really good point there, actually, Ben. There are quite a lot of games which could go into that game week. I think it's FPL game week 26. I think it is, isn't it?
Is it now that obviously Spurs have been kicked out of the competition?
Yeah,
I think obviously the game weeks are Spurs for them now, aren't they?
Yeah, that's a good point.
They are, yeah, and they've got so Spurs have only played. I haven't got it in front of me, but they've played one of the fewest amount of games. I think Burnley are the least. I think Spurs might be the second or third least. So they have got lots of games to play and be fit in, but it's much easier for the league to fit them in kind of later on in the season. So it could be a case of go Kane to Salah, and then go Ronaldo later on back to Kane, just as an example, that daisy chain when the fixtures fall. But yeah, I think like priority transfers, just Man City, Liverpool, they look the two teams this month, and I've got Ronaldo. I'm keeping faith in Ronaldo for the time being for a few more weeks.
Tony, is that the point you're making there, that they might end up playing in the Europa Conference League in them midweek games?
No, I mean, that they might fill them weeks now.
Yeah.
With the Premier League reschedule games.
Yeah.
Like you say, Burnley, Brighton, sure they can fit them games in. Burnley, I mean, Burnley are trying to get the whole league called off by trying to cancel as many games as possible. Like, just get relegated, will you? But obviously, with all these games to reschedule, and obviously Spurs being one of the main teams that they've had quite a few games. I'm surely them 2 Tuesday Wednesdays are going to be filled with a rescheduled game, I would guess.
But are they still not fighting for that place in the Europa Conference League, like because they got kicked out?
I think we'd know by now. I would guess.
Yeah.
I would guess. But yes, Spurs have played 20 games, whereas the kind of level is up to 23. So Spurs have got 3 games more to play. I think they'll play 1, as they say, in this game week 26, but I wouldn't be surprised then if they play the other 2 in the last half of the season, like I say, which makes a nice, Ronaldo to Kane move maybe a little bit later down the line or something. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the fixtures falling, and keep your eyes on FF Staff's fixture planner and all sort of stuff on the hub as well. Definitely,
you got to just keep watching it, aren't you? Because it changes. By the time this is out, we could have had 2 announcements on Spurs fixtures. So, but yeah, priority players, James.
Well, I think Fergie's covered it really. I mean, priority obviously any Chelsea players you've got you should be looking at a plan to get them out and load up on Liverpool and City, I would say.
Ben?
Yeah, I think you covered it all. Trent,
Are
Cancelo, Kane.
you guys going to be jumping straight back into the Chelsea players once they return? On is it the week of the 19th of Feb?
I think that's the next question.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah, I think it is the next question.
Go on then. We'll jump in. Kerry Jones, in your opinions, what are the best entry-exit points for the popular clubs with transfers? Similar to how we plan in Sky Fantasy Football. Also, given United have 7 fixtures in Feb, would you bring anyone in? Keep up the great work, lads. Go on then, Ben. You jump into that with the entry-exit points then.
Well, you said it about the Chelsea. Chelsea are back from the Club World Cup on the 19th. And they also have a Champions League first leg after Man City and Liverpool played their first leg. So then you've got a 2-1 over Liverpool, Man City. There's one there, and also if you've got Kane, he's got 2 games in game week 22, and then he's only got single game days, unless they put a rearranged fixture in there. You could jump across to, say, Ronaldo, who's got double game weeks all the way through February, for example. You got one, James?
Well, I don't play Sky, so I don't really. I'm not sure I quite follow the question. But now you've said it, it makes more sense to me. All I had written down really was jump off Chelsea, get on Liverpool City, jump back on Chelsea 19th of February, get off West Ham 12th of February, maybe onto Leicester, and don't go anywhere near Arsenal because they've got only got 2 fixtures.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Yeah, I agree with all that, Fergie.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd say with Chelsea is they haven't looked very good, though. Reece James and Chilwell, I think, are both back in training, aren't they now? So by this time rolls around, I think if Chilwell and Reece James are back, I think they'd be a different proposition to what they'd be this last month or so. Because since they've got injured, they've been a different team defensively, haven't they?
Yeah.
I do understand the point about maybe jumping on them. Palace away for me is probably not an easy game. Lille is a bit easier, and then they got Liverpool and then Burnley. But I think I'd be tempted to hold on to my Liverpool and City till the middle of March, and then maybe look to change. It also depends who goes through in the FA Cup as well, because the FA Cup 5th round falls, I think it's like the 2nd of March weekend as well.
Yeah.
So I probably wouldn't be as quick maybe to jump on Chelsea defenders just because they just haven't been playing very well. If they'd have been playing as they had been, in October, November, definitely. But I probably, but again, we're talking nearly a month down the line, and anything can happen in that time, can't it? I'd probably look to get rid. I think James mentioned it earlier. I'd probably look to get rid of, if I had Antonio, which I have. I'll look to get rid of him after this week. I'm not sure about Bowen. You could hold on to Bowen. They do have Leicester and Newcastle, which are quite decent fixtures, but after that they do get much harder. Wolves, Liverpool, Villa, Spurs. So I think you could probably move off West Ham in this next month if you still got those. Spurs, similarly, I think you can assess this week how they're playing, how they're looking, because Kane could be like a fall guy for Salah potentially if you still got Kane.
Yeah.
As we've mentioned a few times, I think for the rest of this season, personally, City and Liverpool are going to be the 2 teams to just target with the odd sprinkling of like a premium forward and maybe a cheapie somewhere. It's hard to be intricate because things change from one week to the next, and there's a lot of rearranged games, and it depends who's going through in the cup. So this is why you should listen to this every week, because obviously this is the insight you give every week, innit? You guys, you give the latest updates every week on what's going on with the fixtures. So if you don't listen every week, make sure you do.
Yep. Cheers, Fergie. With the United fixtures in March, they turn pretty dire.
Yeah.
You got City, Spurs, Atlanta, Liverpool, Leicester. That's the next 5 from the start of March. Just thinking, if you had Ronaldo then, I mean, is that a time to jump off him?
Yeah, I definitely think so, and I think this is why when we're looking at saying jump on Liverpool and City now, I think we're also looking ahead into March, aren't we?
Yeah,
Their
yeah,
fixtures
definitely.
carry on, don't they? They just
Yeah,
carry on and on, whereas Spurs and United's get difficult. I think this is a bit
yeah,
of a missed thing at times. Is if you right, I'm going to go Man United defense and go different and bring in a couple of United defenders. You're going to want them out next month, whereas City and Liverpool, you're probably going to want to keep them for the majority of the season, aren't you? So yeah, it's a really
yeah,
good point there, Tony. I think.
yeah. Kerry, obviously, I've got written down here: City, Liverpool. Your jump on period is now. If you're not already on them players,
Yeah.
and I've no exit period. There's no.
Right.
There is
You're
literally. There's nowhere where I can see it's ever safe to jump off them assets. So
After the
they're
Champions
very
League final is finished.
yeah. I mean, they're safe transfers, like you say. They're transfers.
Yeah.
They're season transfers. They're players that you're going to put in, and you're probably going to keep. United, if you do take a punt on a Fernandes, if you want to bring Fernandes in, or even Ronaldo, if you were to bring him in, you're going to want to jump off at some point. I guess depending on that. Don't get me wrong, they might absolutely set fire this month, and because they've got a good set of fixtures this month, and you might be looking at it a little bit differently in 3 or 4 weeks' time. But as well with just to touch on obviously Leicester have a decent run of fixtures. They got Randers twice. I'm sure Rodgers will be taking that competition very seriously.
Yeah, he never heard of it before, has he?
Well, I mean,
Brilliant.
it's
I couldn't believe he said that.
it's one where I just you always feel like Leicester going strong in every competition. They don't seem to let up. They want to win everything. They don't complain about fixture pile up or anything like that, do they, James? They just get on with it. Or the size of away dressing rooms, as we touched on earlier. But yeah, Leicester, for me, just a bit of a sprinkling of Leicester in there, an attacking asset from Leicester.
Just
Whether
not
that's
defenders.
Yeah, no defenders, but I just feel like it's probably an important month, a busy month for Leicester, and they're a team that's capable of scoring 2 or 3 in a game.
Yeah.
So they can get some points up there. So I definitely have a sprinkling of Leicester somewhere in my teams, whether that's Maddison, Daka, Barnes, Tillemans, even Lookman has become a bit of an asset now, obviously differential and stuff like that. But yeah.
I think just finally, it's worth mentioning on City and Liverpool as well. They may seem like boring moves, but these are the kind of moves as well. And the kind of team you'll get to is like an optimal team, which means that you can then afford to save transfers back at the end of the season. Sorry, the end of the month, because if you're going for differentials and you're going for you're very quickly moving them in and out. Whereas if you want transfers at the end of the month, you've got to have a team which is a very good long-term, really strong team avenue, and this is how you get there, is because you have, and then you can afford to do luxury transfers like Sterling to Mahrez or whoever to whoever, because you've got your pick of players, and your budget will be almost unlimited as well, because if you're on all the players nice and early, you get to a point where it doesn't matter how much they rise, they're already in your team. I got to a point last year where at the end of February, I had 4 or 5 transfers left every single month at the end of the month, and I could afford any player in the game. And it's actually then, it gives you a headache, a different kind of headache, as in, am I going to do the right thing or not, sort of thing. But it's such a good spot to be in, because you've got all the best players and you don't have to move around. And like I say, it's a case of who blinks first a lot of time in local mini leagues with your mates, with your workmates. Yeah. They're not going to play like this. They're going to play. We looked earlier at the chap who showed his mini leagues rivals teams, and they, one's got like Areola in goals.
Calvert-Lewin up top,
and Calvert-Lewin with Yeah, and it's those kind of things where they're going to be transfers out. Whereas
Yeah.
if you've
Yeah.
got Jota and Edison, you've just got that advantage, haven't you? So.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, mate. Right, moving on. Liam Webb. Would not putting Salah in be a completely stupid move? I feel like I'll have to make my team a lot worse in order to get the money for him. James, would not putting Salah in be a stupid move?
Madness, Liam. Have a word with yourself. Salah has 88 more points than any other striker in the game. No, seriously though, I mean, you might not want to jump straight back on. Clearly, he's going to be playing in the AFCON until the 6th of February. He's definitely going to miss the Cardiff game. And he probably won't play the Leicester game on the 10th. But after that, unless you really think that he's going to have some sort of hangover from the AFCON, I would be looking to get him straight back in, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, that's the thing. Would you be, if he was going to play the Leicester game, would you bring him in for one game, or would you wait for the double game week the week after? I personally would wait for the double game week the week after. What would you do, James?
Probably the week after now in my teams, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. You could probably go from like Kane to Salah, couldn't you? Then he's got a double game week, and Kane's got just Wolves, who can't seem to concede.
It really depends, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
on what his team looks like. But Liam, I think Salah, you've got to get him in your squad.
Yeah.
You have to. If you don't have Salah, he's going to do so much damage to your rank. Because he scores. He's the absolute, like, he's the pinnacle of Dream Team at the minute. He's the main man. You've got to have him in your team. And if that means you're going to have to downgrade in a couple of places, rewind the pod just back to where we start going through some of these under 3.5 million players, and maybe there's a couple there that might, a Donny van der Beek, might enable it. But yeah, joking aside, you're going to have to find a way against Salah back in, and whether that costs you 2 or 3 transfers and maybe a little bit of a weakening elsewhere for maybe one differential. You're going to have to do it because he scores that many points. I think he's that important. Fergie?
Yeah, you've got to have him in. He's in 100% of teams when he's fit, in the top 100, top 1,000. He's just, as you said, he's probably, well, I'm assuming he's on for the record, I would guess, in terms of points for Dream Team, are not far off. Obviously, he's missed a month now, which is a shame, but he would have been close, surely. So you just got to have him, and we mention every month, don't we, about taking care of your team structure, making sure that you've got kind of a way back to players, or at least if you're a million out, it's fair enough. But yeah, I think Van der Beek's ownership is gonna spike in February.
It's gonna rock it.
We'll next pod we'll have a look at his transfer stats in, and we'll have a look at the Fergie.
Yeah, we'll find him
to see if his ownership spiked.
Yeah, we will find him.
I think he'll have to go in a fan team monster, won't he?
You're right.
Yeah. He'll be up there. Right, that's all the questions touched on. We've got the differential league. Obviously, the community pick has been chosen at 8 PM tonight. That's gone through. Now it's time for us, lads, to put our picks. Just a quick update on the league. We've got the community out in front on 140. Fergie not far behind at 135. Tony in third with 102. James, you're there on 85. And Ben bringing up the rear at the moment on 69. The community pick for the month has been settled at 7.7% on Mahrez. So obviously we've had big discussions about Mahrez this evening, and he is the community pick for this month for February. Now, second pick that goes to you, Ben.
Yeah. I've had a look and I've gone for Robertson.
Balls. Oh no!
Right, hold on. Now Evans will have to rehash what they're doing. So you've gone for Robertson.
Yeah. 4.5 million. 9.2% owned.
Yeah.
9 assists and 1 goal so far this season, and 1-star man. So yeah, I'm gonna give it. Liverpool's got great fixtures, so I think he's a good pick.
A cracker. James.
Well, I was going to go for Robertson. But clearly, I'm not now, so I will go for Dakar.
Fucking hell.
It's like a domino effect, this, isn't it?
It is. Right, Daka for James. I'm going to have to get the spreadsheet back up now, aren't I? Where am I? Oh, shit. Right, we've just settled on mine. I'm Eric Laporte for me. Yeah, on to you, Fergie.
Yeah, Laporte was my one. I had him in December, and he was absolutely brilliant for me. So I was quite surprised he was still available. But I've still got Foden's 6%. I think Matip is quite a decent one. He's 9.2 as well. I think he's decent. But I don't know whether to put my money where my mouth is and just go a bit of a fool and go for Van der Beek.
Yeah.
Just for, do you know what? I think I'll have a bit of fun. And obviously, I don't think he is the best pick, but I'm going to go for Van der Beek just because why not?
Love it.
It's a bit of fun. He's got Brentford, Newcastle, Leeds, and Southampton. So it's not bad. I'll go for it. I would go for Matip, but going for a central defender is a bit of a boring one, isn't it, Toe? So I'll go for Van der Beek.
Brilliant. Excellent. They're the choices in then.
We're going big at the back, aren't we?
Yeah. And the Van der Beek one. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about it.
If he scores on the weekend in the FA Cup, I'm expecting a couple of tweets and retweets and messages.
I'm just thinking that Twitter's going to go burst into life.
Is he the next Keenan Davis?
He Hopefully he's not the next Adama Traore. He tipped up at the start of the season. That was a disaster, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, brilliant. Let's see how they got on in the month of February. It'd be good to have the football back next month and next week, and I crack on. Obviously, getting into the business end now. Everyone having decent ranks. All of us are here on up in the top 500, aren't we? All of us.
Yeah.
So we're all in and about. Again, I'll just reiterate what I said about the 1st of February going round. And if you do listen, you're a listener on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, you do listen to us on the Hub. We do have a few extras going about and on our Patreon, patreon.com/Dream Team Tonic. You want to give yourself the best chance to win your mini leagues. Get involved in that. It's a lot more content on there and stuff. But yeah, again, Fergie, it's brilliant to have you on there. We do love these monthly catch-ups with you. So cheers, thanks Fergie. Again.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Thanks for having me on, fellas. Always enjoy it. Always helps me solidify my plans for the month as well, which is good because it makes me force me to get my arse in gear, doesn't it? Because I need to research for the pod. So I'm like, right,
you've got to, mate.
Exactly.
That's it. Brilliant. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate it. YouTube subscribers, please hit a like, drop a comment. We're quick to get back to you, and yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks very much, and we'll speak to you next week. See you later.
See ya.